Of a day, the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture is now called to order. Today is Tuesday, October 19, 2021. The time is 9 a.m. Notices for this virtual public hearing were disseminated via email to all senators and all main media broadcasting outlets on Tuesday, October 12, and again on Friday, October 15, 2021. The notice was also published in the Guam Daily Post on Tuesday, October 12, and again on Friday, October 15, 2021. The host of this hearing will mute all Zoom participants until called upon by the chair. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and begin by stating their name for record-keeping purposes. We have one agenda item that is Bill number 209-36, introduced by myself, Therese Terlaje. It's an act to adopt the proposed amendments to Article 5 of Chapter 4, Title 26, Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations, as transmitted to LIHESLATURAN GUÅHAN pursuant to the Administrative Adjudication Law, which are attached to the bill as Exhibit A. I want to thank my colleagues for being present here today, Senator Terlaje, Senator James Moylan, and Senator Anthony Ada. Colleagues. And I want to apologize. I have a scheduling conflict this morning, and so my vice chair is unavailable, and I've asked Senator Terlaje to please conduct the rest of the hearing for me, including the introduction of the bill. And I thank you for your forgiveness on this matter, and I want to thank you again. Thank you, Mr. Nadeau, and thank you, Senator Terlaje. If you could please take over. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, and we acknowledged all the senators that are here today. And with the agenda is Bill 209 as stated, -36 COR stated by Speaker Terlaje and introduced by herself. So before I hear testimony from the panel, I'd like to introduce the bill. As stated, it's an act to adopt proposed amendments to Article 5 of Chapter 4, Title 26, Guam Code Annotated, Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations as transmitted to LIHESLATURAN GUÅHAN pursuant to the Administrative Adjudication Law attached here to as Exhibit A. On August 10th, 2021, pursuant to the Administrative Adjudication Law, Department of Public Health and Social Services transmitted its proposed rules and regulations governing the issuance of sanitary permits to the Guam legislature. The proposal seeks to insert a monetary penalty for regulated businesses that blatantly and repeatedly violate sanitation requirements and revise the fee schedule for the issuance of sanitary permits, which will allow the recruitment of more inspectors for the Division of Environmental Health via increased revenue into the Environmental Health Fund. The Committee on Health held a public hearing on Friday, September 3rd, 2021, to receive testimony from Department of Public Health and Social Services and public feedback. During the hearing, DPHSS Division on Environmental Health proposed that the revised fee schedule in the proposal be effective 365 days after the end of the Governor's Public Health Emergency Declaration or after the adoption of the rules and regulations into law, whichever comes later because of the adverse impact of COVID-19 pandemic. Bill 209-36 COR was introduced on October 7th for the purpose of amending the rules as submitted to change the effective date of Section 4506 of GAR, permit fees and inspection fees. It does not touch DPHSS's proposal as to penalties. Without the introduction of this bill, the rules and regulations as submitted would lapse into law on November 9th, 2021. We also received confirmation from the Attorney General that the agency on its own accord or the governor via executive order would be able to delay the implementation of the fee increase. So now we're going to be accepting testimonies from the panel, and we're going to start first with Tom Nadeau, Chief EHPO from Department of Environmental Health. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Senator Terlaje, Senator Ada, Senator Moylan, Senator Brown. I'll be reading a testimony that was actually on behalf of the Director of Public Health. Half a day. I'm Tom Nadeau, the Chief Environmental Public Health Officer with the Division of Environmental Health, of the Department of Public Health and Social Services. On behalf of Mr. Arthur San Agustin, the Director of Public Health and Social Services, we thank you all for the opportunity for the department to give its testimony on Bill 209-36, which seeks the adoption of the proposed rules and regulations governing the issuance of sanitary permits. The department wholeheartedly supports Bill 209-36. Our written testimony and its accompanying slide presentation that were presented during the September 3, 2001 public hearing for supporting and justifying the need to adopt the proposed regulation are attached for your review. We will spare you all from having to listen to the same testimony and witness the same unpleasant inspection photos all over again by simply summarizing our points. And they are: the proposed fee schedule will increase revenue into the Environmental Health Fund, which will then allow the Division of Environmental Health to recruit additional inspectors to conduct quarterly compliance inspections of the nearly 3,000 food facilities, cosmetic establishments, institutional facilities, public swimming pools, hotels, and dry cleaners. The frequent inspections will equate to fewer violations and thus minimizing the potential of disease transmission and large outbreaks from originating from these health-regulated establishments. Sanitary permits will be processed and issued timelier since the pre-optional inspections can be scheduled and conducted sooner. The passage of Bill 209-36 will build public confidence in the sanitary conditions of the businesses where they'll go to eat, get their hair cut, drop off their children, swim, and dry clean their clothes. And the proposed monetary penalty should deter businesses from operating without a sanitary permit, importing adulterated or mislabeled consumer commodities, and committing other unlawful acts that violate our environmental health laws. Furthermore, this department thanks the committee for recognizing and supporting the need to delay the implementation of the revised fee schedule until October 30, 2022, so to enable the industry to recover and prepare. However, we do ask that specific language be inserted in Bill 209-36, stating that the current fee schedule will continue to apply until the implementation of the revised fee schedule. Lastly, the department is seeking the consideration of the committee in possibly adding provision to Bill 209-36 that will amend Section 20120 of Chapter 20 of Title 10 GCA so that monetary fines collected are deposited into the Environmental Health Fund. Currently, all fines are deposited into the General Fund. Once again, we thank the Speaker, Chairperson Terlaje, and members of the Committee on Health, Land, Justice, and Culture for allowing us to present our summarized testimony as supplement to the September 3, 2021 testimony with the supporting PowerPoint presentation in support of Bill 209-336. Thank you, and Sizus Masi.
Thank you so much, Tom. I also like to recognize Senator Joanne Brown has joined us early on. I apologize for not recognizing you before Tom started his testimony, but appreciate you being here. Tom, is Rosanna going to also be here? I believe Rosanna Rabago?
Yes, we had invited her, but unfortunately she had a commitment to another Zoom call. So unfortunately, she's not able to make it.
Okay, no problem. Well, I'll go ahead and ask my colleagues if they would have any comments or have any questions for you. And we'll start with Senator Toniata. Senator, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tom, again, thank you guys for everything that you do at Environmental Health. I'm glad that we're moving forward with the rules and regulations, proposed rules and regulations. And also thank you for actually, recognizing the difficulty that, our economy is having at this point in time to push back the adjustment of the fee schedule until 2022. I think that just shows that you're willing to work with the public and you're willing to work with the businesses at hand so that they can not just come into compliance but also be prepared for next year. Again, to your staff and to the entire public health, thank you for all that you guys do for keeping our community safe and keeping our establishments always on their toes and always prepared to just ensure that public health is always first and foremost for our community. Thank you again, Tom.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Ada. And next in line was Senator James Moylan. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Tom. So just three things that you want to come from this bill are we're going to delay the scheduling of the fee increase until end of October 2022, another year. And the current fee schedules will continue. And then just want to make sure that these fines, when implemented, to include the current one, I guess, are deposited into the environmental health fund and not the general fund, right? Seems pretty clear and easy.
That's correct, sir. Yes, that's currently the fees that we assess are deposited in the environmental health funds, which we do have access to. However, the penalties that we're to collect go to the general fund. So we're simply asking whether the committee can consider also transferring any monetary fees that are assessed and collect that goes to the environmental health fund as well.
It sounds like the right thing to do unless somebody's going to object to that, but I just see no problem with that. And then thanks for sparing us with some of the slides, but I'm just wondering, on these really interesting slides here, are these guys, have they been cleaned up since these slides were made?
Right. Yes, Senator. Some of them actually go back a couple of years. There's some of I hate to say this, one of our worst situations. So we just simply compile those that we found that represent some of the conditions that we actually see when we do the inspection. But some, of course, are dated, but all of the violations that's noted there have been corrected. Back then, whenever it was cited then, yes. Thank you.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'm wondering also on your website, when you do the inspections and you do come up with these pictures, is that posted on your website where these establishments are and these photos?
That's something we did consider, Senator. I think it had to do with our capability. I'm not the IT guy at our division or the department, so I can't say, but what we do is provide the information if requested, whether it be by the media or the public. So that is available, but I don't believe it's currently available on our website. But that's something we're considering at our end, but I don't know if we have the capability at this time, but I can definitely look into it, Senator.
Okay, I understand. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator.
And thank you, Senator Moylan. And of course, my favorite senator, Senator Brown, please, you're recognized.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. I did want to ask Mr. Nadeau, certainly there's no doubt we appreciate and the community appreciates the work that public health does. I mean, when we go into, these areas and businesses that provide these type of services, particularly restaurants where we eat, I mean, we always want to make sure that the place we're eating is safe and healthy and that they're following, the proper practices to make sure that what we're consuming is safe. But I wanted to get his feedback with regards to compliance. I mean, of course, you would think that if a restaurant, for example, had a very low rating, that would discourage customers and that they would lose business. And you would think that would be an incentive enough to correct whatever deficiencies that particular facility, may have in not meeting the required standards. So I wanted to get his feedback. Has there been, are these businesses, when they are cited, are they inclined to more readily address compliance because of, the negativity of getting a low or bad rating? Or do you go back and have consistent issues of, maybe the same business not properly addressing the standards is because they're unaware or they simply are not wanting to choose to comply? So I wanted to get his feedback on those questions.
Oh, thank you, Senator. Through our experience and observation, those that are cited, let me phrase that, those facilities that are with numerous deficiencies and noted in our inspection report, they tend to, of course, want to correct those as soon as possible so they can get a better grade. But especially if they're suspended, incentive permits pulled, so of course they want to reopen to continue the business. So in that respect, yes, those are businesses that receive low grades or close down, they respond as soon as they can to correct the violations, and of course respond in kind and try to get them open or get them the new grade, followed by a new inspection, if you will. So in that regard, yes, there are definitely establishments, in fact, all establishments that I call wants to, of course, do better and get the higher letter grade and open up. Now, as to the public's response to that, definitely their immediate interest, and I think that helps with the public in terms of, because we get numerous complaints about health establishments, whether it be by just a simple email, a photograph, WhatsApp, whatever means that they have available to them, and it's transmitted to us, and we respond as quickly as we can. So there's public interest as well. I think the problem we have is that these inspections are not done frequently as possible. So the letter grade that you see could have been a day, a week, a month, a year old. So maybe they're not associating that letter grade with when it was inspected, because we always said it's a snapshot at that given moment. So it may have been an A last week or last year, but it may not be an A now. So we always encourage everyone to look at the inspection report. But that's not something people think of readily. They just simply look at the inspection grade when they walk into the door. So I think that's the biggest challenge we have in terms of public information and their understanding of the letter grade and when they were inspected. And I hope that answered the question, Senator.
Well, and right now, well, do you have some that are just repeated violators that are not, of course, because many I'm sure are just for basic, I mean, if you're going to be in business, you want to be able to operate, that they would want to, quickly address compliance, but do you have repeated businesses that just for whatever reason, just don't get around to properly correcting what those issues are?
I can't think of any particular establishment on top of my head, but I do know that sometimes old habits come back, especially when they haven't inspected for some time. I mean, on the average, at least when we did the initial calculation some time ago, an average inspection between one establishment, there's a 4-year gap between inspection of an establishment. So
I was just going to
words,
ask you what's the frequency? That's a big gap. Yeah.
It is a big gap, Senator. Absolutely. This is one of the reasons why we're really pushing this, hopeful that this bill be passed and become law, so we can get more inspectors, so we can do more inspections frequently. But it's about 4 years on the average between inspections, unfortunately.
And then I wanted to ask you, you mentioned you have people might call in because they had a adverse experience there. Maybe, the food was spoiled or whatever the case may be. In those cases, then is that how public health is responding in between these that's a big gap, 4-year gap of doing inspections?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to share that happened in 2018. So in 2018, that's when we had one of the most largest number of closures in a given period. So we had like 40 suspension of businesses, and nearly all of them were a result of public submitting complaint of an establishment, and most were eating and drinking facility. And these were what we call non-priority, in the sense that they don't cater to the high-risk population. So they weren't in our radar in terms of priority-wise, but because of the public's attention and understanding of food safety, they referred to us, and we did inspections, and unfortunately, they were confirmed, and we closed down like 40 establishments that fiscal year. It was one of the highest we've ever done, and that was contributed primarily to the contribution from the public. So yes, they've definitely been helpful in our regards, eyes and ears.
So like in a restaurant facility, can you just give us some pointers maybe for us and our residents, what they can look for that maybe can be things of concern when they see something in an establishment? Because I know you're going to go back in the kitchen, check the temperature, make sure things are properly stored in the location and all that. And certainly as a customer, you're not, we don't go and see what's going on in the back. But are there things that residents can be mindful of just to, when they go into an establishment, that they can look at and be aware of that might be areas of concern that, beyond just maybe, the worst thing is someone getting sick because they ate food that wasn't properly prepared or stored. Nobody wants to go through that experience. But aside from, which is a major issue of concern, but are there other things residents should be looking for? Is there something like on the letter grade, does it have a date when that was issued so that, we can even look at it and see, hey, this is a 4-year-old report or a 3-year-old report, just for safety? Because of course, when you go out and eat, and a lot of people now, of course we have the pandemic, but, either to go in or take takeout or whatever the case may be. And we kind of among ourselves kind of know where to recommend, where's good food at, where not such a good place to go. But are there any things we as residents can be mindful of and look at just to protect our own safety as well and our family?
Sure. And I think you brought that one of them, which I always recommend, is ask to see the most recent inspection report. Because like I said, that could have been some time ago. But also it points out, even if it's a recent inspection report, it notes the violations that were cited. So what I always look for is, if available, is when I actually go to an establishment, aside from letter grade, if it's available, I tend to look at the violation that was noted. And I look for something critical, such as personal hygiene, maintaining proper food temperature. Let's see, it's from a approved source. Make sure it's they have basically met all the critical violations. They don't have any critical violations on the inspection report. But also, obviously you can't go to the kitchen, or they won't allow you in the kitchen normally, right? To look at how they operate. but you just look at the dining facility. But the restroom, I always look at the restroom because I think it's a reflection of their sanitation overall. So if you have a facility where the restrooms are not well maintained, that could be reflective of the situation in the kitchen. Because, dining rooms are generally kept clean because, that's the first thing you present as a business to the client. But what happens in the kitchen and also the restroom where not everyone may go, I think it's a good reflection, especially go to the restroom. There's no soap. I mean, if there's no soap for the clients, how about for the employees?
Right.
Things like that. Something basic as looking at the restrooms, I think is helpful in addition to their last inspection report.
And then the last question I have, normally we would always read in the paper and I would look, even if I haven't been someplace, I'll look and I'll see your rating. If you went out and, you went out and did the inspection and it will list down the names of these places. And if it doesn't get a good rating, then definitely, I know a lot of our people are going to go, we're not going there. Am I missing that? Has there been, I haven't seen recently. I try to keep up to date looking at, the paper, but I haven't seen recent reports. Is it you have them, but they're not being covered as often? Or is there any reason we don't see them as often as we used to? Because that used to be a very regular, it's almost like the police blotter. You'd see the, public health's grade that was issued for inspections at these facilities. So am I just missing it? Or is there any reason why we don't see as much coverage with regards to these inspections?
Yes, so once a week, in fact, just yesterday, we issued a list of all the establishments that were inspected, the result, and the letter grade. But a lot of our focus recently, in fact, for some time now, has been on COVID. COVID enforcement, COVID mitigation measures are being implemented. So that's been our focus. But when we do get a complaint, we do follow up. But also, we post them on our website. I wish I can give you the link. Unfortunately, I don't have that on top of my head. But we also post our inspection results in our database, so that's available. But in terms of the media, we don't control what the media.
So maybe that's the reason you've been doing these inspections, but perhaps they're just not covering it in the same way. Because normally print media would always have the listing. So I just wanted to inquire because maybe that's the reason. I mean, of course, they get to decide what they want to put, but that used to be a regular, feature that we would see. Okay, well, that answers that question, but I appreciate you providing the information on what we need to be mindful for. But I think it would be a concern certainly for the public to think that, it might be 4 years since the last regular inspection from public health occurred. And that's definitely a gap we don't want people to be getting ill or sick. And these particular restaurants are not meeting the health standards that we require just to ensure the health and safety of our community. So with that, thank you, Mr. Nadeau, and thank you very much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to ask these questions.
Thank you, Senator.
You're very welcome, Senator Brown. Thank you so much. Tom, I just have a few questions. And, during the process of these rules and regulations, I know that in December, I believe it was December 3rd, 2019, there was a public hearing. And then 20 months later, between public hearings and submission to the legislature around August 10th, 2021. So can you just give us a history on the process of these rules and regulations, and also starting with how did you formulate these fees and fines? What model did you use to formulate it? So if you can start from the beginning, just to know that the process of the AAA, and then at the end, of course, let me know the opportunity if you had to speak with the governor, whether these rules and regs were approved by her, because of course that's a critical element of the AAA process.
Sure. Yes. Of course, the governor of Guam, she did review the document and she approved the document. It was forwarded back to us with the written approval. In fact, I believe that's actually in the original transmittal to the legislature via the AAL, through the AAL process, the Administrative Adjudication Law, formerly known as AAA, I believe. So we did follow the AAA. We made the necessary announcements on the website and on the local print. We did have our own public hearing. We compiled information and we packaged it, also gave it to the Office of Attorney General. They gave their legal review. We comply with the format for as required by the compiler of law.
Tom,
so,
sorry to interrupt, yes. But can you give us the dates?
Dates
available from the beginning?
You know what? Sure. I'm sorry. Gosh, unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me, Senator. Let me see.
Okay, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
but you're right. It just started around 2019. There was a delay because of COVID, so we didn't. One, our focus was not on the regulations, and two, because we're understanding the economic situation. In fact, because of COVID, we asked and supported by the governor to delay the fee schedule component of the proposal until next year. So we're thankful the committee acknowledging that as well and supporting that. So this occurred initially in 2019. And how we derive what the fee schedule is, well, we do know the average number of inspection the staff can do, the number of health regulated establishments. And based on that information, we know how many staff is necessary to do approximately 12,000 inspections a year, because each health regulated establishment require quarterly inspections. So that's around 3,000 or 2,900 establishments multiplied by 4, that equates around 12,000 or just under 12,000 inspections. And we know how many inspections our staff can do a day. So we have approximate number of how many inspectors that's necessary to do 12,000 inspections. And based on that number, we determine the cost, the salary of these individuals. And we simply took that grand number divided by the number of health regulated establishments. I know it sounds really quick and dirty, but it's what we found is most convenient and an ideal way, if you will. We're not an economist, but we found out that seems to be the ideal method to determine, because we know the number of establishments, the cost of each employee salary, how many inspections we need to do. So based on that figure, we come to 768 as the fee to increase the total fee cost for each establishment to generate that amount of revenue to recruit that number of inspectors. Does that help? I hope I know it's really, I have it. In fact, if you look at our economic impact statement that we attached to the proposal, it gives you an outline how that was derived. So that might be helpful for those who are actually interested in how we did this. Our inspectors can do an average around 2.5 establishments a day. Okay, so based on that, and there's 250 working government days. So we have a number of how many inspections an inspector can do a year, right? And we know how many inspections that needs to be done for all establishments. So do the math. I know I'm Asian. I should be able to do this top of my head real quickly, but I don't have the paper.
I appreciate that, Tom.
So I apologize, but everything's written out on the document. Gosh, I'm embarrassing myself by not having that document in front of me, but I can get back to you
okay.
at a later time with email if necessary. But it's all in the environmental economic impact statement. I'm sorry, it is outlined in that document, so it might be helpful.
Thank you so much, Tom. Sorry to put you on the spot so much like that, and getting in depth, especially with these fees not being implemented until later on, moving forward. And I hope that there's going to be some kind of notification in advance, way in advance to give to the businesses out there when the fee will be implemented, even though it does say it in the law, 365 days after the pandemic or the emergency as implemented, or whichever is at the later date that's stipulated here. So I just hope that there's some notification well in advance for these businesses. As well, Tom, how many have you seen, has there been any noticeable decreases in the number of permits issued or current with the department?
Yes, I think it started last year, for obvious reasons. So the number of, I don't have the figure in front of me. In fact, last year and year before that was an anomaly because of the COVID. So it's not a true reflection of number of center permits that we issued, but definitely there was a fewer number of center permits that were issued. And I think that's reflecting that some of the business closed or is temporarily not operating. So yes, to answer your question, there's been a reduced number of center permit that was issued last year compared to the previous years. But this year it did peak, this most recent fiscal year, which is 2021, the numbers has gone up. So I think that's good. That's good news for everyone. I think it's showing that the economy is recovering somewhat, but definitely there's been a increase in 2021 compared to 2020 fiscal year.
Yeah, and you don't happen to have those numbers with you. Are you looking at like maybe a percentage increase or Well, we know that it's starting to go up in 2021, but
Unfortunately, I don't have the most recent number. I can only share with you that on the let's see. Oh, okay. So I can only share with you the during 2014 to 2018, prior to the COVID, we were averaging just over 3,000 sanitary permits that were issued. In fact, in 2018, right before the COVID, if you will, there was 3,246 sanitary permits that were issued. I know that number went down during 2019, 2020, but 2021 it went up slightly. So there's definitely an improvement to what was seen prior years. But I can look for the number for you, Senator, and email that to you later.
I appreciate that. If you can go ahead and send that number to all the senators, just give me a comparison or, a preview of what we're looking at, the growth. And so that's good news, very good news. Well, I think that's all the questions I have. I'm going to ask my colleagues if there's any more questions you may have for Tom before I close it. Okay, so if there's no further questions or comments from the panel, I'd like to thank Tom for you being here, Department of Public Health, Division of Environmental Health, for their work and on updating its sanitary permits, rules, and regulations. The committee will be working to submit the report on Bill 209-36 COR to the Legislative Committee on Rules as soon as possible to place on this month's session agenda. I do want to know for the record, we don't have the fiscal note. I'm noticing it's not posted up, so I'm hoping we can have that before so that the committee report can be circulated. So that being said, this meeting has been adjourned and on the committee has heard Bill 208-39-COR duly heard. Public hearing is now adjourned. The time is 9:23 a.m. Create a great day, everybody. Make it happen.
Thank you very much.